There are no shortcuts in evolution. How could God say this? Shouldn't evolution take shortcuts? I mean, it's already been around for millions of years, so if there were any shortcuts, surely one of them would have been found by now, right? Wrong! Evolution has no shortcuts, and here's why. Number 1. Adaptation to changing conditions. Survival of species is always dependent on their ability to adapt to changing conditions. This is why God says there are no shortcuts in evolution. If we ever hope to create a lasting civilization, we must learn to adapt, even when adaptation is slow and difficult. It's far easier to defy God and encourage evolutionary change through human intervention and experimentation than it is to allow things to progress naturally. The only true way forward is with guidance from our Creator, otherwise, there are no shortcuts in evolution. It's important to remember that while natural selection has allowed some organisms to thrive, there are still countless others that have gone extinct. There may be times when an entire species seems doomed to extinction, but as long as they continue adapting, there will always be hope for survival. Number 2. Adaptation through diet. Researchers have long debated how many mutations would be needed to transform an aquatic fish into a land-dwelling terrestrial creature. Some thought it might be a one-off, or at most 2 or 3 mutations, but that estimate was way off base. Researchers are now finding there are thousands of changes required for terrestrialization, and it's going to take a lot more than just one mutation to get them there, says one evolutionary biologist. In other words, there are no shortcuts in evolution. It takes a combination of small changes over millions of years to achieve results. This means we shouldn't expect humans, or any species, to make drastic adaptations overnight. Evolution is slow, gradual process with steps along the way as our species learns new behaviors and capabilities through natural selection. There are no shortcuts in evolution. God says. The New York Times ran an editorial today on exactly what God says: there are no shortcuts in evolution. It opens with, in February 2013, I wrote about 5 ways science can help us understand why we're here on Earth. The editorial then goes on to explain each topic with specific examples. Although they never directly mention God says by name, they do make references throughout their essay. Number 3. Natural selection. At its core, natural selection is a feedback loop. Our genes, and therefore our bodies, evolve based on how well they help us survive and reproduce. If a trait helps us survive and or reproduce, we pass that trait on to our offspring. If it doesn't, we don't. There are many traits that help animals thrive but can be disadvantageous in other ways. For example, creatures with longer limbs might be better at finding food or avoiding predators but slower at escaping from both of those threats when they're threatened by them. More drastically, creatures who can fly often have weaker vision or smell than creatures without wings. Nature has given up something for their ability to fly. As such, birds have very poor eyesight compared to humans. The price they pay for flight seems steep until you consider all of the benefits flying gives them: being able to travel further distances more quickly, being able to see over tall obstacles, etc. These trade-offs between different survival strategies are an important part of natural selection because they provide context around why some species live where others do not. Number 4. Survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest is a term coined by Darwin to describe how species adapt to their environment. According to him, there's no other force that can shape life on Earth, only competition within a species. He also believed that better adapted animals and plants would survive while others would die out. Today, survival of the fittest refers not only to species but also to individuals within those species. It's why some people live longer than others or get sick less often. Since you're reading articles online, it's safe to assume that you've survived quite well, although perhaps there are ways for you to continue evolving. Maybe one day we'll call you a superior creature. Congratulations on being alive, whatever your state of evolution may be. Now go make more friends and try to stay healthy. If all else fails, eat lots of berries. Berries are delicious. You should probably check if they're actually good for you. What happens when our understanding of evolution stops expanding? Do we stop evolving? Do our children evolve faster? Can machines evolve faster than us? Would humanity be wiped out by an evolutionary leap from an alien race? How does genetics work when DNA mutates so quickly that cells cannot copy it accurately? Number 5. Understanding evolution is key to avoiding extinction. In a new study, researchers from University of Michigan found that populations living in regions experiencing rapid climate change are less likely to evolve than those living in regions that have stable climates. Climate change is one of many factors affecting evolution, but if populations can't adapt quickly enough to climate changes, they could go extinct. That's why conservation efforts are so important. Not only do they help save species from extinction, but they ensure that species are capable of evolving. If we don't work to protect and preserve biodiversity, we risk losing everything. It's time for us to step up our game before it's too late.